I'm really excited about today because I want to show you this really fun project that I'm working on with my pile of scraps. Okay, so let's say, for example, you have a garment you want to make and you want to do color blocking and you want to have coordinating fabrics. So you go ahead and you find those and you buy those, and that's exactly what I did earlier this week to work on another project. And then after I cut everything out, I had a lot of bigger scraps because I needed 3 fabrics to make my original project. And so I ended up with all these big pieces left over. So I decided what we're going to do is make it into a strippy skirt. So what I want to do is show you the skirt. All right, so here's what I have so far. And it's double. I've already folded it. Okay, so this is all of those scraps that I showed you earlier, cut into strips and then serged into fabric to make a skirt. And in fact, I think I'm going to make it a skort because that'll be more comfortable for me. But I just think it's really fun because I knew these were going to work because I had bought them to go with, I had bought 3 matching fabrics to go with a different color block project, so I knew it would be perfect for this. And I didn't want to just throw away those scraps or put them in a bag and forget about them forever, so that's why this is sort of an impromptu skirt project. So let me show you the process of making this skirt. All right, so here I have a perfect example of a scrap, and I had a bunch of these different shape scraps. So I decided to come up with like a standard amount to cut them into strips. And to tell how my grain was doing, I actually turned them upside down because from the wrong side I can see the grain of the fabric. So when you're cutting your strips, if you turn them upside down, then you can see, where the grain is and, try to cut them on grain or on the bias. And because of my first project and the way I cut out my pieces the first time, the bias offers a lot more straight edges. I know this cut edge right here is on the bias. So to make it manageable, I'm going to fold it in half, kind of, like this. Okay, now I can see that it's a right angle here and it's a right angle here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just cut myself a 3-inch strip, like this. All right, so I did that to all of my scraps and I ended up with strips that look like this. And then also, sometimes what I would do, I'm just going to cut this here so I can show you. Let's pretend it ends right here. The other thing I wanted to do is cut some wedge-shaped scraps. And the reason why I wanted wedge-shaped scraps is because I want the waistline edge of my skirt to be smaller than my hem. So I would go in and just sort of do a slight angle. And these I eyeballed. I didn't measure how wide I was making them. So maybe I'd have 2 inches up here and 3 inches down here, or whatever fit on the scrap actually. All right, so I'd end up with, wedge shapes and straight shapes like this one. And what I did was I cut all of my scraps out like that. All right, so that's what I did with the pile of scraps. I cut as many strips as I could. Okay, and let's say I had 2 like this that did not add up to 23 inches. Okay, so what I want to do is show you how to sew this on the 45-degree angle now. I think that diagonal angle is a little less noticeable. So the way I did it was I crisscrossed them on the ends. Okay, and then what I did was I put my ruler matching the where they intersect, and then I slid it up a 1/4 inch to give myself a seam allowance, and I cut this part off. Okay, and then I just used one pin to hold it, All right, so see I've got it pinned together with one pin. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the serger. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my strip that's horizontal on the side of my serger here, and that's going to help hold the layers together actually. I'm going to pull my tail out from under the presser foot so it's not in the way. I'm going to lift my needle, and then I'm going to slide it in and then draw it towards me until I can see that the very edge is close to the needle, like that. Then I'm going to put my presser foot down, and I'm going to start serging, but I want to make sure I'm keeping everything nice and organized like this because it'll help the edges stitch together nicely. I'm going to make sure I'm against the blade too. And then I'm going to serge these together. Now when I get to the bottom, I don't want it to slide out, so I'm literally going to hold it right here so it won't pivot or get out of the way. All right, so see how that made a nice seam? Okay, so that's how I sewed the strips together that were actually too short to make that 23 inches. I didn't do a good job on this one. So what I'm going to do, I'm not going to take it out. I'm just going to show you if you screw it up when you sew it together. I'm just going to make it work by trimming it. And all I'm going to do is trim it. I'll just go like this and trim it. Okay, so see now it's a nice strip to use for my project, and I think I just want to trim over here too. And if I could make a strip that was wider, I added some of those in to make it interesting. So you can see here, this strip is almost twice as wide as some of the other ones. And you can also see, if you look at the bottom of the hem here, you can see how it's making a slight fan shape because some of the strips are wider than they are at the top. I didn't do every strip like that because I didn't want it to be a huge flared skirt. I just wanted it to be slightly A-line. You can see here on the end I have two florals on this end. So what I'm going to do to finish it up is I'm going to put the little polka dots first, and then I'm going to put the big floral. So, and that will be the rest that I need to go around. I'm going to start here, okay, and I'm going to take this wedge shape, and I'm going to put the narrow end at the waist, okay, but I'm going to put it together wrong sides together, and I'm just going to stitch down. And if you don't want your seams to show, you can put right sides together, but I thought it'd be kind of fun. I picked sort of a cranberry red, so it kind of went with some of the tones of the big floral. And I'm just going to stitch this all the way down. And I'm just skimming the edges as I go. My next one sewn on. Okay, and now I'm going to put this last one. Okay, and I want to make sure if it's a wedge, I put it so the wider part is at the hem, but this is just a straight, I think this one's just a straight 3-inch piece, so I'm just going to match that up. And I'm going to sew that on. Okay, if one strip is longer than the other one, I just finished and serge it right off, you know, to the end. Okay, you're probably wondering, you know, how many strips do you need? Well, basically what I did was I just kept going until it wrapped around me. So I'm going to stand up here and I'm just going to wrap it around. If I can make it so you can see. Oh, we do it this way. Okay, so you can see that I have about, by the time I sew the last seam, I probably have about 3 inches of ease. All right, so I was a little worried between you and me that I wasn't going to have enough scraps, and I thought I was going to have to go back and run and actually buy some more fabric to get around my body, but luckily it worked out. All right, you can see that it is a little bit uneven, so I think what I'm going to do is even it out. When I was in my late 20s, early 30s, I made these skirts and I really didn't care if they were rough and unfinished and uneven, but I think for me this is a little bit too messy now. So I think what I'm going to do is sort of eyeball it, and I'm just going to sort of trim it to match what looks like to be the shortest ones. So basically I'm just skipping around till I get to the shortest, and I'm making them all that length. So see, if I look into my future here, I can see this one. So like I'm here, I can see that this would be my next goal right here. See how it's short right there? So I'm just going to trim that to kind of match like this. All right, so I don't know about that little chunk. I'm going to leave that for now. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold it in half and see how my side, the last seam is matching up. Okay, so you can see that it's pretty close where I matched it. Then when you're working with your scraps, cut them all the same length and then pin them at the top and the bottom and make sure you're sewing them one-to-one all the way down, like manage your seam all the way down. I just whip these together because I've made enough of these to know that after it's all done and I press all the seams flat, I don't have to really rely on the drape of any one strip to have it hang nice because they're all so thin. So for this kind of project, I'm not too concerned about that. But if you want to make sure they're all the same exact length, if you cut them all the same length and then pin them at the top and the bottom, it's very easy to sew them together like that. Let me show you right here. See, I matched across, and I'm just going to trim this off. All right, and then, once I get this on, I'm going to put it on the dress form and I'll even it up so it is relatively even. Like I'll mark the hem. I'll put it on my dress form and I'll mark the hem. But for now, this gives us our final seam. So let me do that. Now, you can see here, I basically have a skirt, and I'm going to go through and I'm going to press all of these seams, so they're all going in one direction. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my yoga waistband technique to finish the waistband. So let me just get a piece of fabric so I can show you how to finish it if you were not going to make it a skort. And I like to do, for these kind of garments, I like to cut an 8-inch strip, so when I fold it in half and I finish it, it's a little less than 4 inches wide. All right, and I'm just going to make it 8 inches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. I'm just going to cut this. All right, so the way I fit this on is I will physically wrap it around. I'm going to fold it in half, and I'm going to wrap it around myself until it feels comfortable. So like I would think this length is comfortable. Okay, so this is what I measured from here to here. I want to make sure that it's not bigger than the top of my skirt because that would be bad. Okay, so you can see that it's about almost 4 inches shorter than my finished top of my skirt, that's actually perfect because I will ease it in an inch every quarter. Okay, so that actually works out to be a nice ratio between the waistband and the top of the skirt. If what I thought was comfortable for a waistband was too small, I'd have to take in the top of the skirt a little bit. So I would have to maybe undo and take out a few strips, or whatever, but you don't want to have more than 4 or 5 inches difference, because it'll be hard to stretch your waistband to fit onto the longer waistline of the skirt. All right, so this right here is my waistband. I'm not going to do it today because my serger's not set up, but basically the way I do this is I fold it in half and sew it into a circle. So I'll serge this edge, then I'll fold it back down and I'll match it to my skirt, and then I can pick where I want my stripes to be. Like, I might decide like I like the floral, like I think this would be my front with these bigger floral strips. So I'd put that seam, that would be my center back seam, on my yoga pants waistband, and then I would just serge it around, and that's how I would finish the waistband of the skirt. I am going to make shorts, and I'll share with you next week what I decided. I don't want this is rayon jersey, this knit. I don't want it to stick to my shorts, so I'm going to try to find something that's either a little slippery or something that just agrees with this fabric, because I don't want to be, looking like Static Cling Girl. But anyway, so that's what I wanted to share with you today, and it's a fun project. So if you guys want to make one of these skirts, need help deciding if fabrics go, or whatever, please, post your pictures of your fabrics and I'll help you. And next week I will show you the finished the finished skort with the shorts underneath.